All right, gonna do a quick intro for Quantum GIS. Gonna start here on the download page. When you download and install on your Windows or Mac, just make sure to do the OSGeo4W network installer. Your computer will most likely be a 64-bit, but if it's an older computer, it could be a 32-bit, so you'll need to check the install on that. But this allows you to install all of the tools that will be necessary for the GIS process. And assuming that goes correctly, you'll get QGIS to load, very similar to this. And if your toolbars are different than mine, you just need to right click on the panel or toolbar section and make sure you have your panels on or off, and then the toolbars as such. And then adding a layer, which is one of the most common functions that you'll do, is go to layer and then add layer, and most likely add a vector layer. Either way, it'll get you to this. You can choose between raster or vector, and you just navigate to the file or navigate to the folder and scroll to most of the files that we'll have are shape files. We'll just kind of focus in on this country shapefile here. You want to make sure you're choosing the .shp. The shapefile is an old computer system file structure. It's been around for probably 50 years now, and anyway, all the information is included in the different types of files, but if you include the .shp and hit open, and then you would just hit add, and that would add it to that. One thing you'll notice is that this is projected data, and meaning it is accounting for the curvature of the earth. That's something way outside of a 10-minute video, but in order to choose the project projection, you go to project properties, and then under the coordinate reference system, whether it's projected or geographic coordinate system, you would choose the projected coordinate system there. We're using a North America based projection to look at the earth as if it's on a globe. And then printing, oftentimes it's easiest to just do a screen capture, like print screen, and then delete the areas that you don't want. You can use a just do a new print layout and just give it Walker, Texas Ranger, give it a name, and then it'll come up, and then you just add a map area. Add map. And add the map area here. I leave a little bit of white space off on the side just for notes and legends and stuff. Won't get into all that, but that's how you get a map. And then you can scroll around in the map area using that tool. All right, so in this section, we're going to cover downloading the spreadsheet and uploading it into Quantum GIS. The only problem that I had getting it loaded is making sure that this was text data and not numeric data. So for instance, these zip codes that started with the 0, it has to be text data in order for that leading 0 to be there. And I'll show you why that gets important later. But I adjusted it to be sure and you can go to format and then number and just make sure it's plain text if there's ever any issues, but it's formatted that as if. So from there you need to go to file and download CSV, and it will download your CSV file. And then within QGIS, we'll close our little map and we go to QGIS, and then we go to layer, add delimited text layer, and we browse to the CSV file. We can go to this PC. I'm just going to navigate real quick. Downloads, and choose your exclusive zip code layer. Open that up, and then make sure it's a CSV. First record has field names, and this might come up automatically. Detect field types. Make sure you're unchecking that. It's going to treat everything as text, and then hit add, and then you can close. And so if you notice over here, it didn't add anything to the map. It's just the CSV file. And if you go to open attribute table, you can see all of the client data there. And then what we need to do is to join it. We go to processing, toolbox, and then I have the join attributes by field value. If it's not there, you would just type in join attributes by field data and just open that. And the input layer is going to be your zip codes layer, not the zip code that we added. And we need to tie the two fields together. So it's the GeoID 10 field, that's the zip code name. And then the input layer 2, that's where we're going to do the exclusive zip code for your clients, and then do the exclusive zip code. So that way between the two tables, we're using the zip code number as the link. And we want to discard records which cannot be joined, and we're going to create it a new shapefile. And so I'm just going to put it, I've already created it, and so I'm just going to put it in my map data scratch folder, and just call it exclusive zip codes, and choose the .shp, and then run. And as we ran it, it said 1,600 features from input layer were successfully matched, 31,000 were not. So in other words, all the zip codes that were in your file, it grabbed those out of the zip code shapefile and created a new shapefile. And so we can close that. And I'm just going to uncheck these real quick. So now you can see these are your exclusive zip codes. To change the coloring on that, we're just going to either double click or right click and go to properties, and we can add labels here. Choose a single label and just choose the client name or the GeoID, meaning the zip code number, and we can add labels to that. So that's how you would do your label control. You can also set the scale dependency on the rendering, on how far in, you have to zoom before you would find it. All right, so I'm going to show you once again how to turn the labels off on that. And just go back to labels and just choose no labels. Okay. And that concludes the portion of downloading and loading the CSV files into QGIS and joining the two files together. All right, we're going to need to clean the zip code shape files before we add them to the web page. I'm going to leave this one, the scratch one that we created earlier, but it would be the same for these other three that you're going to add. So go to exclusive, just double click on it, go to properties, and the styling, we can actually load the style. And in the files that I send you, you're going to see there's a styles folder, and just choose the exclusive zip code layer, or if you're working with just the client zip codes, one of the three, and just hit open, and then load style, and then apply. And you'll notice that this layer now has the same style as the client exclusive zip codes. It loads in the same coloring, the same transparency, and the same labels. And so that covers the styles. And the next thing we need to do is edit the fields in the table. And so we're going to click OK. We're going to open up, right click, go to Open Attribute Table. And then we're going, within here, you'll notice that there's a ton of fields that we don't need in addition to the ones that we do. And so we're going to edit the table, and then we're just going to click on the field that we don't want and just delete the field. And so we can delete basically everything except the GeoID and the client and the notes. And just hit OK. And you'll notice that that brings it down to the zip codes, the client name, and any of your notes. And then toggle off, and you're going to save your edits. And you'll want to do that for each of the three zip file shapefiles. Your client zip code file, client exclusive zip codes, and client for first right of refusal zip codes as well. All right, so in this section, we're going to cover how to export this data to a web page. We are going to, so go to web, QGIS to web, and then create map. If that's not available, you need to go to manage and install plugins and type in QGIS to web, and you'll click on it, and I have reinstall because mine's already installed, but you'll have an install plugin. Just click on it and it'll install the plugin. You may need to restart QGIS. Make sure that you are saving your project as you go. And so then you just restart your QGIS and load in your GIS project. And so now we'll go to QGIS to web, create web map. And then here, it's going to list all the layers that you have available. And we need to decide which ones we're going to load into the web page and how we're going to display them. So with the cities, we're not going to do pop-ups. They will be, you'll be able to see it, and you'll be able to see the label. Same with the highways, the client zip codes, we want it visible and we want pop-ups. The exclusive zip codes, same, visible and pop-ups, and same with the first right of refusal. The state borders, we don't want those on pop-up, and then the zip code, same as well. And then countries, don't want those on pop-up. Or the counties, counties, we don't want those on pop-up, we want them visible, and then the country borders as well. And then the shaded relief map, this added a whole bunch more complexity, and it really bogs down the web page. So we're just going to deal with the raster data or the vector data within the web page. And then within appearance, we're going to add a address search, and we're going to add the layers list under collapsed, and we're going to then the layer search, we're going to do the exclusive zip codes, check the match project CRS imperial, or use a measure tool if you want it. You can choose none. I like having the measure tool on there. The show pop-ups on hover, that I like just being able to click it, and so the show pop-ups on hover kind of made the page quite a bit busy. And then fit to layer extent for the zoom, and then 28:1, and restrict to extent, make sure that's enabled. On the export to folder, you want to browse, and I just have it on the desktop GIS 4 with no hover. It's just going to put all the files and folders you need into a new folder there. And then we hit export. And this process, it's going to take all of our shape files and create them into JSONs. It's going to use the OpenLayer JavaScript package to take all of the data and put it into a web page. It can take a little bit of time. Don't be surprised if it takes 5 or 10 minutes in this export process. And then once it's done, it will actually just open up a browser and show you the file, and I will create another video for that. All right, so this is going to be the last step in this process, and we're going to take what QGIS Web spit out, and then we're going to upload it to the website domain. And so to start with, it's going to spit out these folders, just timestamp, this latest one right here. All you do is you go into it, and then you have just select all of them, and then we got to zip them all up into a compressed folder, zip folder. So we're gonna just zip all of the files up, and it's going to create images.zip file. We're gonna rename it to. We're just gonna rename the zip file to upload. That way we can kind of keep the names organized. And it. While we're waiting on this to work, a lot of the cPanel hosting sites have a 100 meg limit on upload file size, and so that kind of limits the amount of data that we can put into the website. So getting back to the GIS, I know we had talked about adding all major streets and highways. Yeah, you'll get, this error, you'll get sometimes if there's an empty folder, it can't compress an empty folder, which is fine. So you just hit OK, and it zipped it all up fine for you. And so I do, in the GIS files that I'll send you, there is a US highway data set. So if you zoom in here, you'll see that we now have some highways, and you see that we have the interstates, and now we have some highways, and we can go on to the identify. We can just click on the identify button here. Oh yeah, so make sure you're selecting it, and then you hit the identify button, and it'll give you it's a State Highway 30, I believe, is the name. So State Highway 30. Anyway, that's identify. However, that highway data set increases it to where it's about a 200 meg zipped file, so well over the limit. So it's not something that we can put onto the web page. So that's why I didn't export it, but we do have the interstate file in the export. Anyway, so that's the GIS side of it. And so now the file management side, I just change that to upload. It doesn't matter what you call it. I saw that kind of tutorial on the web, and it works great to just give it the upload file. And then from there, on the DNS side, so you log in. So I'm just going to walk you through my process. Whoever you have hosting your domain will likely have a similar process. So this is just through GoDaddy. You click on the cPanel administration, whether it's through AWS or Google. It's going to be a cPanel admin type process. And so this comes up as your dashboard. We really don't get in. We just click on File. If you click on File Manager, it brings you to the cPanel File Manager. And if you go to, it's going to bring you to your home. Everything is going to go into this public_HTML. So here, this running through a scenario of this is the old website. We would just select all, and we would just delete. We can just delete everything. It's not a huge ordeal. And then you can archive it. Some people will zip it and archive it. Where you're uploading everything, the whole uploading the website entirely, just select all, delete it all, and then we go to upload, and then we go over to our upload.zip, and we drag it, and we put it on here to upload. It's right now, it's about a 66 megabyte. While that's uploading, I'll show you the layers that's included. So that includes this it included the cities, the interstates, the zip codes, the client zip codes, the client exclusive zip codes, client first right of refusal, the state borders, the zip codes. Past that, if you include counties, you're pushing it. It really doesn't add a whole lot to the in other words, you could include counties if you wanted to, but I usually leave counties off just for the speed of the website. The country border, if you include the country border, because of the extent and fit to layers, that includes the entire world the extent will go through the entire world, but it looks kind of funny because of the projection. So you can change it to canvas extent. So if you wanted the web page to only include the continental United States or the Oconus, you can go to canvas extent. And so if you wanted to include countries, so you could see like Canada and Mexico, but I would definitely just at that point then turn to a canvas extent. Otherwise, just fit to layers, because all the layers are going to be here. Anyway, back to the file upload. Nearly done. Hold on. All right, now we just close that, and then we click on our zip folder and we extract, and we extract files, and it basically uploads all of the web page files into our cPanel file manager. And then once that's done, you can delete the upload.zip, and there's your web page. I typically like giving it a little refresh button, hitting the refresh just to be sure everything's inside of there. And then what I've noticed is that Firefox actually gives the best performance of the website. And so then you can just go to type in the domain, and you might, if you have it at a, it might be like a file underneath here. So you might want to call it, you could call it wacko, mydomain.com/client map or something like that. But now where this is at the top level of my website, I just go to wacko geosystems.com, and all right, so loaded. I actually got busy doing something else. I'm not sure how long it took, but last time I did it, it didn't take too long. What I've noticed is on the domain hosting side, it seems like while some things are available, but because of the large size of this, it took it more about taking them longer to resolve it. So in other words, as you upload the data and unpack it into the cPanel, I found for best results, if I give it about 20-30 minutes, even though it says it's there, before I can view it and have good results on the web page, give that side about 20-30 minutes to just kind of do its thing, and then load the web page, and it takes maybe a minute or two. And so without and with all that, I think I covered just about everything. Please feel free to reach out with any questions.